But what do I do as a single woman, senior single woman, retired? What can I do to make something change?
Yes, I think that is one of the key questions that any of us who looks at what's really going on and cares about it just leads to again and again. What can we do? And I do, personally, I believe that there's a lot that we can do. If we think of our total society as being like a sort of complex system, the change happens through what happens at the grassroots level and what happens in the overall sort of top level of that system. And changing one alone isn't sufficient, and they both have to change. So I think you're touching on each of these things. Each of us individually can certainly become more aware of the kind of mass hypnosis that goes on through the corporate media into our lives, and recognize we can individually do things very differently. We don't have to go to the store and buy this shiny new product as soon as some new thing comes out. We don't even have to subsidize these global corporations by buying their food. If we, especially here in the Bay Area, we're blessed to be, there's a whole other infrastructure of really more conscious ways of producing, organizing, and distributing available to us. So we can do a lot in our personal lives to say, what can I transform in myself? And at the same time, that's not enough unless we really get involved in some of the more sort of top-level stuff to try to shift the overall political infrastructure. And I think what is really helpful to recognize is that for each of us individually, it seems like these changes are so minute. Why even bother? And like there's this massive, like sort of monolith going on. But one of the things that we learn, and in fact, the book looks at in some degree, at the new ways of thinking about the world called systems thinking, which looks at this kind of nonlinear, interconnected way in which everything is. And one of the things we learn through that is that with all kinds of, we've all got our networks. All those networks are part of nodes, which relate to other things around us. And it might seem to us that the actions we're doing seem very limited, but we'll never know which nodes connect to other larger nodes, which connect to other larger things, which may have impact years later that we don't even know when they do happen. So it's something to really bear in mind as we go about our lives. None of us is going to change this monolithic direction ourselves. But all of us, by connecting with each other, by living consciously, and by really looking through the implications of our lives in this larger picture, as enough of us connect up, it's like a mycelial network that can ultimately totally transform things from the underground. You won't even see the headlines about these things that are going on until they become headlines, because everything is shifted underneath. So I don't know if Paul...
No, we're a social species. Get together with your friends. For example, if Diane, our representative, says, well, we have to have corporations, otherwise we'll be inefficient and won't grow fast enough, you should get 20 people to write to her and say, are you out of your mind? The big problem is growth. If we could end growth by getting rid of corporations, that'd be one of the first things we should do. Markets are a different story. Markets are something that human beings automatically seem to develop. But they, as Jeremy said, they don't have to be run through corporations, and you can. As a matter of fact, it's legally possible if corporations are individuals. Then, of course, when they commit crimes, they should be executed. And that actually, the structure is there, but we never use it. But I think if you don't have any special area to get into, get your friends organized and divide it up so that one of you studies legal issues, and one of you studies population issues, and one of you looks at consumption, and another looks at the structure of corporations. One of the huge advantages I have, and Jeremy has also, is a mob of colleagues. When Steve Schneider, some of you knew, was alive, I didn't have to think anything about climate disruption because I knew he knew it all, and I could trust him, and if I had an issue, I could talk to him. Organize your friends in that kind of pattern, and then take some kind of action. Some of you may remember the battle to try and get the Equal Rights Amendment adopted. And there was a lot of ground, bottom-up operation there, but not quite enough. if a few thousand additional people had moved hard and actually, worked hard on it, we could have an equal rights amendment in the Constitution now. So don't think it's hopeless. You can get things done. And as things get worse, I suspect there'll be more leverage for that. The whole idea of the mob originally was in support of what he said, the millions of groups and people that are concerned about the fate of the world. They're there, but unfortunately they're uncoordinated. For instance, my own personal line for almost everybody, when I was on the Audubon board and so on, the Audubon Society was crazy for recycling. Now, recycling can be good or bad. It depends on a lot of factors, as probably most of you know. But they were putting out a lot of literature on recycling. I said, okay, put out literature on recycling, but put on every one the line that says, if we recycle everything that's possible and continue to grow our population and consumption, the recycling will delay the end of the world by 14 hours and 3 minutes. And that, if every group that was pushing for the right things in the world said the human enterprise is too large, there are too many people, the rich are consuming too much, there's too much inequity, just those lines on their literature, it would help.